would like to welcome all the participants, all the professors and the dear colleagues, and thank you for being able in the conference and be able to part of this project, which is really important and significant issue. And actually, however, I will have a really hard task because I have to talk before lunch. And we all know that it is a challenge, but of course not as big challenge as demography faced with. Actually, in the next 20 minutes, I will talk about the role of assisted reproductive techniques in addressing demographic challenges. Just as my colleagues, I am not a demographer either, so I am also a lawyer. But in this presentation and in this research topic, I tried to wear a demographic viewpoint. Now, I would like to give you an overview about the structure of my presentation. First of all, I will talk about the types of assisted reproductive techniques which are accepted and which are regulated in the Hungarian legal system, because I think that it is really important to talk about the legal background and actually the notions about the assisted reproductive techniques in the legal environment. After that, brief overview about the legal background, so about those legal environment which is the background for these techniques. In the third point, I will talk about the institutional background of assisted reproductive techniques in Hungary, because I think that an effective and good institutional background can ensure the numbers of effective and success reproductive techniques, and we will see that whether it is true to Hungary or not. After that, I will talk about some data on the rate of assisted reproductive techniques in Hungary, and we will see that there are a little problem with enforcing and with accessing data. And as a closing, I will talk about the main question instead of a summary in this topic about how can assisted reproductive techniques have the demographic issues. Now, first, just as I have mentioned, I would like to introduce those types of assisted reproductive techniques which are accepted by the Hungarian legislator. Nowadays, we have 4 reproductive techniques: the artificial insemination, the in vitro fertilization, the egg donation, and the embryo donation. Which is really important from the viewpoint of the legal background is that all of the assisted reproductive techniques in Hungary can be performed by a healthcare service provider in the event of a license and on the basis of recommendation by a specialist. Actually, if it is a really strict requirement, so if it is not respected, this license for the service provider, then the doctor who performs the technique will face with a serious criminal law procedure and serious criminal law sanctions also. Now, the first type is the artificial insemination, which is, as you know, the oldest type of this type of procedure. It was the first type. It has also historical roots, actually. Later, nowadays, it is now only a subcategory under assisted reproductive techniques. And in this case, the fertilization of the egg takes place inside the mother's body. And we can talk about 2 types of these techniques: the artificial insemination by husband and the artificial insemination by donor. Both are accepted by the Hungarian legal environment. The first one, the artificial insemination by husband, also called as homologous insemination, and the other one is the heterologous insemination. Actually, the first one doesn't cover only the participation of the husband, but also the de facto cohabitant partner of the woman. It is also important to mention that the first artificial insemination was in 1990 in a global way, but in Hungary, the first one is in 1952. Sorry, the first one is in the 1770. The next one is the so-called in vitro fertilization, which is really common in our society. Just as you know, it is also called EVF technique or a bottle baby program also. Actually, this procedure means that the mother's ovum is extracted and then fertilized outside the body of the mother, and the fertilized eggs are transferred back into the woman's body at around 6 and 8 weeks. So it is also called an embryo transfer in Hungary also. Of course, there are some cases and requirements when this can be used in Hungary. The cases is in the event of the co-infertility of the parents, the infertility in either party, or if they have a serious hereditary genetic disease, or if the assisted reproduction with eggs or sperm has repeatedly failed. So these are the cases when bottle baby program can be performed in Hungary in the family. It is also important that it is really stressful for the mother's health. And of course, there are other methods of this procedure, but they are actually medical viewpoints. In this case, we also know the homologous and the heterologous fertilization. The egg donation and the embryo donation are also important and also known in the Hungarian legal system and accepted. Actually, the egg donation is also possible, although it is a more complex and complicated procedure than the gamete donation. So it is a really complex procedure, and it is preceded by a comprehensive medical examination, and of course it has a lower success rate than, for example, the other cell donation. Embryo donation is also an in vitro procedure in Hungary. Actually, as everyone may know, that embryo donation means that in the event if the ovums of the mother was fertilized in vitro, and not just one egg was fertilized, but 5 or more, then they can be freezed. And after this one, we can talk about embryo donation. And of course, it is better for the mother, as she does not have to go through the whole procedure again. So it is better to mother to extract not only one egg at a time, but more. But the really important and really significant, the hard question is that what will the fate of the embryos which are not give back to the mother's body. Now, I would like to talk about the legal background. Actually, as you know, and as you can see in the slide, it is a really complex legal background in Hungary. There are substantive and procedural rules also, and there are a higher rank in the legal hierarchy and the lower rank in the legal hierarchy. Here we can see those 3 acts, which are actually the most important substantive legal background for the assisted reproductive techniques. First one is the Act on the Healthcare and its implementing decrees. After that, it has also connection bonds to civil code, especially to the family law chapter. And as I have mentioned you, the topic also has criminal law aspects also. But actually, I don't want to talk about in a detailed way about this legislative background and about the rules of the legal acts, which are the background for these type of procedures. And in the scientific article and in the book chapter, it will be detailed later. The other type of the legislative background can be mentioned as governmental decrees and other type of decrees, and of course a separate act on the protection of fetus life. You can see that, for example, according to the government, there are rules on the provisions of health service and the procedure for the granting for operating licenses, which I have mentioned, that it is compulsory for making these type of procedures. We have another separate decree on the detailed rules for the performance of specific procedure for human reproduction and for the frozen storage of the gametes and embryos. And of course, the minimum professional requirements for the provision of health services, which is also the background for this kind of license which I have mentioned. And now, which is much more important and much more interesting, that who can take part in the process in Hungary. The first one, which is actually a simple answer, is that married couple or cohabitant partners who are due to a medical condition which is called infertility in either partner, the relationship is unlikely to result in a healthy child naturally. So the legal acts give this first type of the people who can take part in this process. So according to this, we can see that married couples and de facto partners can be in a part of the reproductive techniques, but it is not open to the registered partners. So homosexual partners cannot take part in assisted reproductive techniques in Hungary. And which is interesting is the situation of single women, because according to the Hungarian Act, single women are entitled to take part in assisted reproductive techniques, but the Act also said that only in exceptional and justified cases, which means that the woman shall prove the infertility. And also she needs submit to medical specialist opinion also. But in this matter, the interesting and most important element is the notion of infertility, because according to the Hungarian rules, infertility means that in a stable relationship between the woman and the man, which is stable relationship and regular sexual life, they don't have a child for a year. And if we think about this topic, we can see that a single woman maybe cannot be in a stable relationship. That is why she is a single woman. So actually, it cannot help to single women in practice. Of course, the possibility is open to them, but in the practice, it is almost impossible to take part in the process. Now, as I have mentioned you, I think that it is really important and significant to talk about the institutional background of this topic, because I believe that if there is a really stable and effective institutional background for procedures and for services, then it can help to the effectiveness of the given procedure. It is really important, and we have to mention that in 2019 a government decision was issued on the National Human Reproduction Program in Hungary. And it sets as a priority the achievement of demographic stability in Hungary, and it also tries to ensure equal access to human reproductive procedures and techniques to all of the entitled persons who can take part in this process. So actually, when in these years, the government saw that there is a demographic decrease in the Hungarian lives, then they tried to help to the partners and to the families who are facing with infertility to take part in these reproductive techniques and programs. And that is why they established the so-called National Laboratory for Human Reproduction project. It was it is in the Pécs city. It is in the south of Hungary, and the government mentioned, and of course it is a really good idea. They tried to help the research for infertility, and they tried to make and promote the proper research for the reason of infertility, and that is why they made this National Laboratory for Human Reproduction project. And they mentioned that they received more than 2 billion Hungarian forints as a non-reimbursable EU funding for this laboratory. In this year's June, the National Research Center for Reproductive Methodology already established. It is also in Pécs city, just as the laboratory. And it is also really important to mention that there is a really big change in the funding of these assisted reproductive techniques, because from 2022 there is no private treatment in these processes. Former, there were private clinics and private healthcare medical centers which can made these techniques, but from the last years there is no private treatment, and every private infertility clinics were nationalized by the government. Now it means that nowadays in the country there is 12 infertility centers, and the biggest one is the so-called St. John Hospital in Budapest, because according to the data, they are making more than 1,000 in vitro fertilization per year. And now, as I have mentioned you, that it was a really big change, the nationalization of these clinics, and now we can see that there are, of course, pros and cons in line with this topic. Of course, the pros can be found in the reasons why the nationalization was preceded, and the cons can be found on the side of the medical centers. The government said that the demographic challenges required this nationalization process and this nationalization procedure. Actually, it is also important and real that these procedures were very expensive. Of course, there were kind of social security support also in the former years, but nowadays, because of the nationalization of these clinics, the full social security support can be mentioned here, which means that the pairs who are facing with infertility, they can receive full social security support for these techniques, and it means that they are entitled to 6 insemination procedure and for 5 IVF procedure. Of course, the pros are also covers the human reproduction laboratory also, because as I have mentioned you, they are making researches and clinical trials in line with the infertility topics, and the government said that they try to promote the birth of children in line with this nationalization, and it was also a really important problem former that there had been countless abuses in the private sector, and that is why the government tried to make the end to these kind of abuses. And on the other side, medical centers says that the free is a double-edged sword, because as we can see now, it is free to have an infertility process if someone is entitled for take part in this process. But it is a double-edged sword because it can mean that so many and long waiting lists began. It also resulted that many people went to private hospitals into Slovakia and to the Czech Republic, because of course there they have to pay for the procedure, but it will be a much shorter term, which is also important for these pairs. And it was also a cons from the medical centers that many doctors have left the profession because of the nationalization, because the environment was changed according to the nationalization. And it is also important that there are groups who are deprived of free access, and it means that, for example, those pairs who have already received the 6 insemination or 5 IVF and it wasn't success, they are not entitled to the full social security support. And for the women who are over the age of 45, they are also not entitled for the free access. Now let's see some statistical data, which I have mentioned that it is a quite interesting situation in Hungary, because as you can see in the bigger table, it is in Hungarian because it is from the website of the Hungarian Statistical Office, and you can see that there is a decrease in the live births. So those demographical changes and challenges which was mentioned in the whole 2 days, today and yesterday, it is also really to Hungary also. But it is also important to mention here that the proportion of couples who are facing with infertility problems reaches the 15% of all couples, which I think that it is high number, especially if we are thinking about this issue that someone would like to have child and someone would like to childbearing and cannot do it because of medical issues. The use of assisted reproductive techniques are increasing worldwide because of this high rate of infertility, and which is the interesting part in line with the data, that we have data on assisted reproductive techniques, especially on in vitro fertilization, but not from the website of the Statistical Office, because these data are not available on this website. So we can have information about interviews and about speeches from the parliament. According to this, we can see in the smaller table that in 2021 more than 12,000 transplants was in Hungary, which means the IVF procedure, and only more than 2,000 children was born out of this procedure, which is a really low success rate. And as I have mentioned you, I don't want to talk about it again. I don't want to summarize this topic, but instead of a summary, I would like to raise some questions, would like to highlight some points which are important from the former thought lines. We all know that it is a really sensitive topic in nowadays also. It is a so kind of taboo subject, because in many people we can find a cold politeness and criticism for this topic, and of course it also raises ethical aspects and religious questions which cannot be abolished in this matter. I think that a special role for the compassion and acceptance is really important from the viewpoint of assisted reproductive techniques, and which have to be mentioned that it is linked to the problem of surrogacy and nursing pregnancy also, because I think that the artificial insemination is only from one step to surrogacy, which is not accepted in Hungary. By the way, in Hungary, nursing pregnancy doesn't accept it either. So the Hungarian legislator cannot accept surrogacy and nursing pregnancy either. Maybe it will be changed in the future, but actually the real question is how can legislator abolish these steps, and how they can give a legal environment which is safe for example, nursing pregnancy, which cannot be so bad solution for people who cannot have a child in a national way. Which is also mentioned that it is the inability to single woman. As I have mentioned you, on the field of the legal regulation, single women are also entitled to assisted reproductive techniques, but actually in line with the contemporary requirements, it cannot be accepted and cannot be available for them in the practice, because there are such such requirements which cannot be understandable in line with a single woman. So as a closing remark, I hope that the legal environment can change and can modify in the way that it will be much more reasonable for these techniques. Also, I think that it is a really good solution from the legislator that these procedures were free now, but as we could see, free is not all the thing. So it is really hard to find the balance between the money and between the human intention and in the human side of this topic. Thank you very much.